A budget is a financial plan outlining income, expenses, and savings. Following a budget helps you manage the money and avoid debt and achieve the financial goals. Okay. So as you can see, you can create a budget, identify all sources of income, list fixed, variable, and discretionary income expenses. Allocate portions of your income to expenses categories, okay? And regular review and adjust your budget as needed. So as you can see on the slide, it's got the steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 right off the bat, as I explained already, okay? So now we have a better understanding of the steps to create a budget. Let's examine our sources of income, okay? So understanding the sources of income helps in planning. Types of income includes wage, salary, self-employment, side hustles, passive income, and public benefits. So as you can see in these three boxes that are here, types of income right off the bat, you can see in particularly all the bullet points there, okay? And public benefits and child support and alimony. Now, gross versus net income, right? As you can see there. That's earnings before deductions, and net income is take-home pay after deductions, okay? And then deductions, as you can see here, let me move myself. I see that I'm blocking myself here. You can see that the required deductions include, okay, now this is off your paycheck, right, that you were going to be receiving. So it includes Social Security, Medicare, and of course, income tax, which is federal, state, or local. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the state of Texas, we don't have state tax taken out of your payroll or paycheck, if you will, and then of course, local tax either. So keep in mind that if you do decide to be employed outside of Texas, let's say, for example, California, they do charge a state tax and that comes out of your payroll check. Okay. So you want to make sure that they might have, I know California is very expensive to live there, but let's say hypothetically they offer you a job of 110,000. Know that you're not going to get that full 110,000 because not only is federal taken out, but state is taken out as well. So keep that in mind when you're getting ready to be employed elsewhere outside of Texas. We encourage you to stay in Texas, but at the same token, take a look at that state as well. Okay. Now, elective deductions, such as including insurance premiums, retirement account contributions, and charitable contributions and union dues. Now, for example, I'll give the post office. The post office does have a union and they do tie closely with the union. And so guess what? If you join the union, you will be paying dues. Okay. So keep that in mind if you plan to go work for an organization that supports the unions. Okay. So keep that in mind. All right. Now, once we have understanding of this, we're going to now take a look at the expenses. So here we go. Okay. Now let's take a look at the expenses here. Okay. Let me move myself again. I keep blocking myself. Okay. So the types of expenses, fixed, variable, and discretionary. Okay. Tracking expenses. Now, we encourage you, if you haven't already, there's so many apps that are out there for you to track your expenses, okay? Create even an Excel spreadsheet. I'm old school. I have an Excel spreadsheet. I keep everything on an Excel spreadsheet, and I also review my bank statements, okay? Because you just never know. Somebody could have taken your, hopefully they didn't, but somebody could have taken your debit account number and did a charge. And I encourage you to set up alerts because I did have somebody utilize my debit card. Thank goodness I had an alert set up automatically and the notification came right away on my cell phone. And so interesting enough, it was not me that did that charge of $1,000. Yikes. But nevertheless, it was caught. So we got that taken care of. But I apologize for digressing a little bit, but let me refer you back to types of expenses. So fixed expenses, regular unchanged costs each month, such as rent, mortgage payments, insurance, and card payments. Variable expenses, costs that fluctuate each month, such as groceries, utilities, and your credit card payments, okay? Discretionary expenses consist of non-essential spending, often wants such as dining out, shopping, travel, and entertainment. Okay. Now over to the next little square here, little block here, tracking your expenses. So we encourage you to find those apps, right? If you haven't already. Now, some of your banks also have a pretty cool app too. So you want to check that out as well. As I mentioned, I'm old school, so I like, using a spreadsheet. And then you can see here, there's an envelope system to monitor your spending as well. I will throw out Mr. Dave Ramsey is big on that. So you might want to take a look at his website to take a look at how the envelope system actually works, and then help identify spending patterns, areas to reduce costs. Now, most of our banks today, I'm not too sure about credit unions, but I will share with you on the banking side that they do come up with a way to show you your spending patterns, and it's incredible. They'll literally tell you, oh, you're spending a lot more on going out, but nevertheless, you can see the tracking of that pattern, okay? And then helps you organize the finance of managing joint expenses, resources for implications of managing joint finances as well, okay? Now, the basis of budgeting is being able to keep track of income coming in and expenses going out. However, there are various budget strategies that are available depending on your financial goals and situation. So let's take a look at this. All right. Now, choosing the best budget for you. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am sure you might have already heard of the 80-20 rule or the 50-30 rule, 50-30-20 rule. So here's how it works, okay? Now, as you can see, the 80 rule, right, structures around prioritizing essential needs, maximizing savings and finding ways to stretch every dollar. Best suited for those looking for ways to make ends meet by allocating most income towards the needs while minimizing discretionary spending. So as you can see there, 80% needs focuses on essential expenses such as housing, transportation, utilities, and groceries. And then the 20% savings on the debt and repayment, allocate any remaining income towards building savings in creating that emergency fund or paying off your debt right away. Now, why it works is because it prioritizes survival and maintaining basic standard of living. And then the second bullet there, it makes most of limited resources to help achieve financial stability. Now, your 50-30 rule, this framework balances essential needs and wants and savings. So it's best suited for those seeking the balanced approach of spending and saving. So notice that the 50% says needs. It covers your essential living expenses, allowing for more room of discretionary spending. The 30% are wants, allocates a portion of the income of non-essential spending on dining, entertainment, and travel and hobbies and other personal desires. And then 20% is savings, contributes towards the savings accounts, investments, and retirement funds. Now, I know you all are super young of thinking, well, I don't want to think about retirement. But ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to start thinking about it, okay? And then first, and of course, ultimately pay down your debt. So here's why it works. Balances immediate needs and wants with the long-term financial goals. And then the second bullet there, it provides a clear and manageable approach to your budgeting. All right. Hopefully this makes sense to you all. So now we're going to take a look at an example of what this might look like. Okay. So here's what it looks like. Okay. So I've got your graphics up here, right? So we're breaking down the 80-20% rule. Notice how housing, I wish it was 900, but we're giving that as an example. But nevertheless, you see utilities, groceries, transportation, and insurance. And then notice the 20% going into an emergency fund or future goals, and then repayment debt, okay? Pay off that debt, okay? Especially your student loans and credit cards. Now, listen, folks, I know I work for a bank, but anytime I see a student, and I know that we might need a credit card, but listen, you're making me richer with your interest rates, right? That we are out there in terms of credit cards. Okay. Not me personally, but just keep that in mind that if you do have a credit card, any interest that you're paying towards that, believe it or not, I'm serious, you're making that bank more stable. Okay. So you want to keep that funding for yourself. So if you can pay for expenses out of your pocket without having to charge, that would be the ultimate goal, okay? Now let's take a look at the 50-30-20 rule. See the breakdown there? So that There's your monthly income. I apologize. On the 80/20, you see the take home pay was 2,000. I wish. But anyway, and then you'll notice on the monthly take home pay on the other one, it says 3,000. Now that's a good salary there. Okay. So notice how it's broken down. 50% is needs. It's $1,000, 500 right there. It's broken down for you. House, utilities, groceries. Look at the 30% under the wants. It's 900. 200 for dining, 150 for entertainment, shopping, 300, and travel, 250. And then there's your savings, $600, 200 towards the emergency funds, 200 towards retirement, and then debt repayment. Now, this is not a bad setup. I hope this visual helps you out on how it's broken down, okay?